Good evening. Welcome to the offering. This is Jerry Corbett of J. Corbett Ministries, and it's our proud privilege and pleasure to bring you this program every Wednesday. And we thank you for joining us, and we're grateful to God for you having joined us this evening. Now listen, we have something awesome. Remember, this ministry has a fourfold focus. Of course, you talk about spirituality, you talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, and we talk about financial health. So the last 2 weeks, the first week we talked about your spiritual health. Last week we talked about your financial health and how to tackle those student loans. And we want you to go back and view both of those as we continue to bring you new and relevant content. Now, tonight we have something awesome. And tonight we have some awesome guests who are going to talk about your health, your diet, fitness, and how that fits into our lifestyles and how that plays a part in our community as we seek to live long lives and be healthy at the same time. Hey, we have some guests coming on in just a few minutes. We have Miss Walida Alford, Miss Letitia Alford, and Mr. Mike Sutton, and they're all going to join us as they live in this fitness and nutrition world, and we're going to have a conversation. So tonight, this is to inform you of the things that you need to know as you move forward with your fitness. Now, let me say, I myself have fallen into that trap of poor eating and gaining weight and lack of exercise, and in the last few months, I've taken off almost 40 pounds, and they can help us do this. They're business owners. This is what they do, and this is what they do for a living. And they are coming on, and they're going to give us their expert opinions and tonight about how we can live more healthy lives. So we're going to be right back in just a minute, and we will get this conversation underway. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Look, we're joined by these fitness and nutrition experts tonight, and this is for your benefit to get information out to you so that you can live a more healthy and productive life. Listen, I do believe that God wants us to treat our bodies like temples. The Bible teaches us that our bodies are God's temples. So tonight, you probably can look around in this frame and tell that I'm the most unfit person in this frame. But anyway, I'm reaching out to these young folk, and they're going to help me, and they're going to help you tonight. To my immediate left is Miss Letitia Alford, and I have the proud privilege of knowing her as both a fitness coach and a nutritional coach, certified and personal trainer, and she'll tell you more about what she does and about her business in just a little bit. And then to my immediate right is Walida Alford, and she is a personal trainer, nutritional specialist, and thanking her for being here with us tonight. Now these two are my nieces, and I'm proud to be their uncle, and I thank God for them. And to my far right is Mr. Mike Sutton, who is a personal trainer, and we're going to just piggyback off each other, and we're just going to have a conversation. And guys, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight here on the offering. We are so blessed to have you with us, and I am indeed delighted that we're here to have this conversation. So I want to start this off. Let's start this dialogue, and let's kind of throw some stuff back and forth. Here we go. Now I want to ask you, as what you do each day in America, is there an obesity problem? Letitia, if you would start us off, and we'll go around this way.
Okay. Yes, there is a huge obesity problem in America, and sadly to say, it's actually climbing. It's getting worse. America is one of the most obese countries that we have. It is the most obese country, and since 2008, the numbers have been gradually climbing. So we're actually at our highest peak right now in obesity. And you know, we can say that's attributed to a lot of things, but unfortunately, we are an obese country.
So, Walida, what do you say to this obesity problem in America?
I think it just has to do a lot with our background as far as our roots and how we were brought up. A lot of us use food to celebrate things. We use food, comforting. We use food to be around our family. So I think it just has a lot to do with our lifestyle in general and some of the activities that we've done to pull in food as a comfort. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest problems that we see going on in our communities.
Yeah, because most of the time when we gather, there is a meal, we call it
Right.
fellowship.
Right.
And there's
Exactly.
that fellowship and is always involved in something to eat. And sometimes things that are less nutritional, or
Exactly.
high in fat or whatever they may
Exactly.
be. Yeah, and Brother Mike, what would you say to the obesity problem in America?
Just for starters, to speak to that, I think the knowledge curve is one thing I commonly bump into with people. When I say the knowledge curve, I mean I feel like a lot of times with fitness, there's like this cookie cutter like image that's put out about what you have to do, and if everybody isn't the same, then how can this one remedy be the one thing for everyone? So I think you have to segue different people with different cultures in differently.
So I think I'm hearing you say that genetics has something to do with, genetics and poor eating habits, perhaps.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and then there's no cookie cutter method
Right.
that
Right,
can
exactly.
curtail this problem. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Hey, this is good. We're off to a good start. So let me ask you this: since we're all African American, how prevalent is the obesity problem in the African American community? Brother Mike, we'll start with you.
Right. No, it's huge. And I think it's just very simple. Go to your own household or go to, other families that you are commonly around and just kind of, you can see it. You can spot it out. And I don't think it's really on the agenda for most families to get healthy. I think we're worried about other things. Most black families worry about other things. And but just to wrap that up, I think that you just have to, bit by bit, just get into it, segue into it, and hopefully you can find an avenue, which hopefully the offering is that way, to actually get that kick started.
Yes. Talk to me now about this correlation between obesity and the African American community. In your experience, what do you see?
Well, a lot of it goes back to knowledge, as Mike said earlier. And then if you go back even further, you can look at some of the different stressors that are present in the African American community. And a lot of times food is used as, oh, well, you're not feeling well. Oh, well, let me give you this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we're
Yeah.
celebrating something. Oh, well, let's eat this food. Or, I mean, so you have those different type of stressors. You have like that going on, and you're picking up something quick to eat as you're coming in from work, and you're doing all of that. So I just think it goes back to I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but just some things that African American communities or black and brown communities deal with that other communities are not dealing with kind of contribute to those stressors and how we deal with that with food a lot of times.
Yeah, because I do believe in my own experience that food is a coping mechanism. And we want to do whatever. And then if we aren't informed on how to eat, what to eat, how to, what to do with it, then we can make some awful mistakes. So yes. So all right, Miss Letitia, talk to me about this correlation between obesity and the African American community or black and brown communities altogether.
Okay, so one of the things that is very noticeable in a lot of communities, especially in my community where I live in Winston-Salem, is we have East Winston. So in East Winston, we have a lot of fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Burger King, some mom and pop shops, but they're all fast food restaurants. So there's nowhere to actually sit down and get a nutritious meal. But think about it, if there are schools in that community, your jobs in that community, you're going to those places and you're eating. You're not going to drive all the way across town to go to a restaurant that's serving a more nutritious meal versus fast food. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is when that goes back to just the economy as a whole. Poverty in different neighborhoods that even attributes to obesity in the Black and brown communities. Resources, you look at that contributes to obesity because you're looking at cheaper foods that may not be the healthy foods. And again, have to piggyback on what Will hit on and Mike as well is knowledge. Where can I get these foods from in my community that are going to attribute to me having better health?
Right.
Yes.
And just to throw some stats out, Black women are the highest in the obesity range.
Yes.
And just think
I didn't
about,
know that.
they are the highest. They're
Okay.
in obesity, we're at about 56% of the obesity rate. So you're talking about in every household, I mean, right here, one of us would be considered obese if we're looking at stats between Will and I. So when you look at that, why is it that Black women are at high risk of being obese? And with obesity also comes health problems. So who's at a high rate of heart attacks,
Right.
strokes, high blood pressure? Look at the stats. It's African Americans. And then who's at the top of that chart? It's women. So those are some of the things we have to look at as well in our communities, which, you know, is one of the reasons why I started doing what I started doing. And it was to help Black women in my neighborhood. Who can I have the impact on? When I really started this journey, I started with Black Girls Run. And their thing was to drive down the obesity rate in the African American community with women, because women were the top. And it's not just about the food, but we also got to talk about mindset. What's going on in the African American home that's driving Black women to be obese?
Right.
That emotional stress, you know, that physical, you know, we were just thinking about eating and the physical stress, but it goes way beyond that. What are they taking on that's pushing them towards obesity?
Right.
And we have to put that conversation on the table.
Wow. Yeah, that is just so informative because I was not aware. And what first struck me, and I was thinking about in certain communities where there's a lack of resources, they sometimes are food deserts. And, you know, there's not a grocery store that sells, you know, good food or quality food. Like I say, you eat a lot of fried foods and a lot of fast foods and just stuff that's not of much high nutritional value. And boom, there you go. It has a touchy economic status.
Exactly.
Again, these communities look like us, and there you go. So there we start this whole vicious cycle again, and just permeates the next generation. So that's good information. So let me ask you about this with what you mentioned, Letitia, the blood pressure problems, the diabetes, the heart problems, and diseases in our community. Speak to some things that could possibly curtail this whole idea, because a lot of people believe that if I just eat anything and bless it, then I'm all right.
We witnessed that in our own families, right? Well, you know, I believe in taking baby steps, because if you take on too much too fast, it can deter you from getting to the goal. This didn't happen overnight. So let's just take some small baby steps to encourage you to a healthier lifestyle. So one of the things is right here, water. Ensuring that you get enough water in daily. One of my rules of thumb is, okay, 8 ounce glasses of water, right? That's 64 ounces. And if you drink coffee in the morning, 8 ounces of coffee, then let's double that water and add 16 more ounces, because that's a caffeinated drink. Or if you drink an alcoholic drink, let's add double the water to that. If I have a client who's only drinking 32 ounces of water a day, then I'm not going to try to push them to drink 64. Okay, you're drinking 32, let's get you to 40, 50 ounces. And then when they get there, okay, let's get you to 64. we can't take people too fast. We kind of have to meet them where they are, and then go from there, because people get discouraged,
Right.
and then they're mind. It's a mind game, just like it's a numbers game. It's also a mind game. So, and one of the other things is portion control. Let's just look at your portion control. Not attempting to change all your foods overnight, but okay, you've been eating maybe this much, 2 handfuls of rice. Well, let's just break that down to a handful of rice, because you're probably, some people are overeating, but it goes back to the knowledge. They're not even aware that they're overeating. So just starting with water and portion control. And one of the third things is, we're always thinking about physical activity, which where a lot of people go wrong is trying to out-exercise a bad diet. I kid about it all the time, but it's true. But just what the CDC recommends, which is 150 minutes of activity a week. You can break that down to 30 minutes, or you can break that down to 15 to 10 minute segments. You don't have to be in the gym all day,
Right.
but you don't even have to have a gym. But just get up, walk around your yard, walk around in your job, take the stairs, park a little, instead of trying to park at the door at the store, park a little further away, and get in those extra steps. Just those small things start leading to improvement.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know just the steps, wearing a pedometer, they're built into your watches and everything else these days. So it's quite convenient,
Very convenient.
to do that, to count the steps, and I mean, portion control, all the other stuff is just good stuff now. And speaking now, I know that you have the program Willpower, and so on the fitness end, how could we start addressing things, doing some fitness to counter high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease? I mean, I'm understanding that these can be reversed.
Yes.
So if from an activity standpoint, what could we be doing to get these levels and numbers where they need to be?
So with the activity, you really have to lock in and address your mindset first. Because if your mind isn't right, it's not going to happen. Once you get your mind right, you can do anything. So I think it's really important, like Letitia said, not to go out there too quick. So you want to start where you are. If you don't know, do your research, seek out a professional, and just do small things. I mean, do some extra cleaning around the house, walk around your yard, rake your yard. I mean, it doesn't always have to be a physical activity, lifting weights or, being in the gym. It can be whatever extra you're not doing as physical activity. I know I have some clients that sit at work all day, so I'll tell them, get up, walk around, take a few laps, come back to your desk, or, do some band exercises as you're sitting down. Just small little steps to make sure you're getting in that physical activity.
Yeah, that's good. I know years ago, the great Eartha Kitt, who stayed in shape, was asked, what kind of exercises do you do to maintain your physique? And she said, functional exercise. I get out and I garden. I get out and I rake the yard. I do yard work. And she said, that's how I stay in shape. So it just the little normal things I hear you saying could help a great deal.
Yes.
And so that is awesome. So we don't need these elaborate gym memberships or whatever.
No, not at all.
Not up front.
Right.
Until we make up our mind, change our mindset, and get there. Because I know, again, being a preacher, the Bible talks about, so a man thinking in his heart, so is he. The change in that mind, be renewed in the way you think, and see yourself in a different place. Dream of that time when you are changing. So and that probably, as I'm hearing you say, can help some of those levels.
Absolutely.
So, awesome.
Uncle Jerry, one of the things is being consistent with what you have. So building a routine. Once you have that routine, then we can add a little bit more to it. But having that foundation and building that routine is very important to being consistent. Because consistency is key.
Yeah.
You can't just do it once a week and expect results. You have to be consistent 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and just be consistent with that and continue with that entire month, and let the month turn into a quarter, the quarter into a year, and then you don't have time to really think about what the results are because you're getting the results. And when you're getting results, it makes you happy. People are happy, so they just keep going and building on that routine. But consistency is key.
All right. And now, Brother Mike, let me ask you this question. We're talking about eating, we're talking about being consistent, we're talking about starting in small things, in a small place, changing your mindset. I know in black and brown communities, we have a lot of fat, sugary foods. We use a lot of butter, a lot of sometimes animal products we cook with or seasoned with. The foods are just so rich.
Right. Yes, they are.
And I'm sure that is a serious factor in contributing to obesity in our communities. So speak to some alternatives for the sugar, for the fats, the sweeteners, the butter, and such that we use. Help us there. What are some alternatives that we could seek out?
Right. I think most people should just find a new favorite. And what I mean by that is, whatever your favorite vice is, I'll call it at the dinner table. Whatever your favorite thing is, really research an alternative and just knock it out one at a time. I mean, it's kind of like an apple. Nobody will eat a whole apple at one time. You got to take bites out of it. So just a little bit a week, even if you do one thing a week, that's 52 weeks in a year. You just got 52 new alternatives to what your intake is. So I believe that is a huge way to start substituting things. For instance, in your coffee, instead of doing sugar, try stevia. That's actually a leaf. That's something that, if you have sugar issues, but you do love coffee, this is a way you can still consume it. And it can still be just as good, and you can still have now you have that new favorite. So I think that's like one thing you could do. So yeah, finding substitutes and moderation for sure. So like, for example, me myself personally with my oatmeal, I used to put sugar in my oatmeal. So now I actually substituted that with stevia. So, but, did I do that every single time, 5 days a week or 7 days a week, 7 breakfasts a week? No. So I tried, a few times that week, maybe 3 or 4 the first week or so. We're going to do stevia, but sometimes I'm going to have my sugar as well. And then now, where I'm at now, I always use stevia in my
That's like we were talking about earlier, those small baby steps. Don't just jump out into the deep water with this. It's okay to take small baby steps. And for those who like grits and butter in their grits, there are other alternatives, especially for someone who has high cholesterol. There are plant-based butters now. And those plant-based butters, I can't believe it's not butter, is one of them. They have a plant-based version of that, and it is delicious. I love it. And now stores are conforming more to healthier eating. So instead of having to go to specialty stores like Whole Foods or different markets, you can go to Walmart or Food Lion, Harris Teeter, those more traditional grocery stores, and get some of those healthy items or healthy options and alternatives as well.
Yeah, I think that's great information, because instead of having to go to these stores that are perhaps not in our neighborhood, we can go, Walmart is everywhere. So we kind of can jump into Walmart, be careful about our selections. What about the reading of labels? I don't know if I get confused sometimes when you talk about food labels. Talk to me some. How important is knowing how to read a label? How important is that?
Reading the label is very important. You definitely want to make sure you know how much sugar intake you're getting, how many carbs you're getting, how many fats, how many proteins, watching your sodium and your cholesterol, especially if you have some of those underlying health conditions going on. So you really want to make sure that you're just reading the label every time you go in the store. Pick up the back of that label, and you'll be surprised, like some of the things that are in there, as well as the ingredients that you're getting, because some of those ingredients aren't as good as we think they are. Even when we're talking about things that are vegan or organic, some people go into a grocery store and they say, oh, well, this is vegan or this is organic or this is vegetarian. And a lot of times, if you look at the back of the label, some of those things aren't as good as your normal regular food. So you definitely want to be important. I mean, you definitely want to make sure that you are taking that important step and learning how to read the back of a food label.
Yeah, because I think some people equate vegan or vegetarian to healthy.
Right.
And from what I understand, that's not necessarily so, because if it's prepackaged, it can be suspect to high sodium or high fat or whatever the case.
When you put that on it, vegan or something like that, or low cholesterol or whatever it may be, that could just be a marketing tool.
Right, exactly.
So you have to be careful, because we're in a trend society right now. And what's the trend right now? This is the trend. So if I'm a company, sure, put vegan on it or plant-based, and just
It's a marketing scheme, basically.
So don't trust the company, trust your own research.
Right.
Okay, so we need to, as consumers, do some research, know how to read these labels, and learn how to discern what's good, what's healthy, and not just fall for this label that says vegan. I see it all the time. I see it even in stores like Big Lots, Ollie's, the discount kind of stores, vegan. And this stuff is, what I'm understanding from you, it's skillfully packaged.
Very skillfully packaged, very skillfully
It's on the front of the package. It's normally big, and you think, oh, it's organic. Well, let's turn it over. Turn it over to the back and see how much added sugar. Just start with sugar.
Right.
Because normally when you look at a food label, it's going to say total sugars and added sugars. So added sugars are unnecessary. A lot of those sugars are being added during the processing of the food. And so if you're planting tomatoes in a garden, right? Or if you just have tomato plants, you're watering those plants daily. You go out there, you pick your tomatoes off, you come in, you rinse your fruit, you cut it. Nothing has been processed, right? But you go in the store and you're buying things, those things are being processed, chemically processed in a company. So those foods have a lot of added sugar in it. And I look at added sugar as those unnecessary things, those sucroses, those oses, they're all cousins. Those things are those added sugars that we really should be looking at.
And that to read further than just saying it's vegan or vegetarian.
You'll never see those ingredients in as big a font as that label.
Exactly.
You'll never see sugar in a font that big, but you'll see that tag that big for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, now speaking of this, there are just a ton of fad diets: keto, Mediterranean, South Beach, whatever the case may be. A lot of the people are doing. Can we speak to that for a minute and just talk about the good, the bad, or the ugly about these fad diets? I know right now keto is just out of the roof popular. So can you guys kind of speak to what that is and what might be some upsides or downsides to that kind of lifestyle?
Just overall, fad diets. Like keto. Upside to it is you lose weight very quickly. And anything that happens that quickly, it's going to be hard to maintain because it's a fad diet. And the thing about keto is it's a high fat diet. So if you're a person who's going to do keto, you're going to have to be in pretty good shape, because if you're anyone who has high cholesterol, keto's not going to work for you. Because we're talking about you eating large amounts of beef, high fat, not all healthy fats, but we're talking about actually butters. Those type things. And anything that cuts out a food group, we have a problem with it, because then you're restricting yourself. And I don't think between the three of us, the way we eat, because we've seen each other eat, we're not about restricting yourself, from whole food groups, unless you have some type of dietary need to do so. And I know Will has a thing about it, because she'll even get on me sometimes to the extreme, if I'm trying to restrict myself from something. But that's to answer that first part of the question. You're gonna have success for that first part. But again, anything where you're losing weight at that rapid pace, it's hard to maintain. And then with the keto, you got to look at the health problems with a high-fat diet and actually intaking it. You know, it's sounds good to be able to eat a whole bunch of bacon and burgers and those type things, but what's the long-term effect of that on your body?
Right. And you mentioned in diets like that, you cut out a whole food group. In this case, I'm believing it's carbohydrates.
You're lowering those carbs.
Yeah, and rather than depriving yourself of a whole food group, because I know there's just this low carb craze everywhere. What can you guys suggest? I know you say you watch each other eat this thing, and what would be a good balanced meal if you were going? Let's start with breakfast, maybe lunch, and then go to dinner, or if there are any snacks in between that you would suggest. What would a day of eating look like for a person that's going to balance healthy eating, whole eating, with some physical activity? So I want to hear from all three of you.
You want to kick it off, Will?
Well, one thing that I tell my clients that come to me, you don't have to always eat inside the box. So, for example, I know a lot of times all of us can look at our breakfast and we may not be eating breakfast items, or we may be mixing a breakfast item with something that would be traditionally eaten for like lunch or dinner. So, for example, chicken breast. So sometimes I get up and I may have chicken breast, maybe throw some eggs in there, and then I'll have like some spinach, and you can even throw in maybe a piece of multigrain toast in there. So that is a balanced diet. You're getting your carbs, you're getting your protein, you're also getting your fats, okay? And the way that I usually get my fats, I'll cook my egg white in a healthier fat like a oil. So that may be a coconut oil, that could be like a
Dad, when we're home, Dad cooks our
olive oil. Yeah.
Like olive oil.
So don't restrict yourself or limit your thinking when you're eating your meals. Like Mike said earlier, you're eating to live, not living to eat. So it's always important for me to tell my clients, think outside the box, because you want to do foods that are fun for you. You don't want to take the fun out of food. Okay. So that's sometimes my breakfast on a non-traditional side.
Okay, and now move us over to lunch. Kind of, Mike. What would a normal lunch look like for somebody who's trying to balance and stay healthy?
Right. So definitely, again, back to what you're doing as far as how you're training or how you're living, or what you want to look like. So for instance, and then just for the common person, what job are you doing? Do you have a physical job? Are you a roofer? Do you have an office job? Or are you in a cubicle? If you're a roofer,
makes a difference.
if you're a roofer, then your lunchbox needs to be filled with a little bit of fuel. To go back right now in the sun, I think today it was like 95.
That's
so,
right.
You want to think, I need something to fuel myself a little bit. So what am I probably losing here on this roof? I'm definitely losing water. I'm definitely losing sodium. Lost carbs, lost calories, but it's the good carbs, the good calories, the water. We don't need we don't need Pepsi on lunch break, really. You know what I mean? We need to find a alternative for Pepsi, and a lot of time, let's say sodas, for instance, on break, that's a comfort. So maybe, on a mental side of things, you might be more addicted to just that fizzle, just that carbonation. So there are ways to have a flavorful drink that's carbonated. There's flavoring that's not artificial. It is natural, and you can put it into like a seltzer water or something like that. So part of finding a new favorite, things like that. That's one thing, and that's just the drink side of the house. Again, like I said, we'll go back to the roofer, for instance, or just a manual labor job that a lot of us do have, and like I said, some of us don't. That cubicle person may be going for a chicken Caesar salad on their break, which is, yes, that's a good meal with a good dressing on it. But that roofer may want to go towards like a sorry, I went mind blank for a second.
You do ground turkey a lot, don't you?
Ground turkey, there you go. So that's a that's a good everything. It's a good fat. It's a good calorie. It's a good carb source. It's everything like that. So
Okay,
that's
okay.
just a decent
Yeah.
idea.
And then you get that feeling of being full.
You get that feeling of being full. You're refueled because your food is what fuels you. You know, it's not your coffee. It's not your soda. It's not your energy drink. It's your food really is what fuels you, and your hydration. So, you know, now I'm thinking if I'm this manual labor job person, you know, I'm eating to keep going, you know, throughout my day from this point. You know,
So in that case, it's all right to have the ground turkey or the green vegetable, maybe a carb like
it
rice.
could be a
or-
rice.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
that carb turns into energy, and
Right.
that's exactly what you need. And I mean, even as an office person, you still need energy to keep going. I'm just saying, you could get away with the, you know, if you work at a phone company or something like that, you can get away with the chicken salad or something like that, chicken Caesar salad.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd just be a little tougher as a roof.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, you got to feel your body. And like I said, particularly now it's hot. And it loses a lot and sweating and
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff's coming out of you. So you got to refuel and make sure that you can make it through your day.
Absolutely.
And because, you know, you've expended a lot. And at lunchtime it's only going to get hotter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna pull more out. Okay, well, good. Now, teacher, take us to a good supper meal.
Okay.
I'm home from work. I'm you know, ready to relax. I'm with my family, perhaps. Now, and I'm not gonna stop through the drive-through at McDonald's or Sonic or whatever. So take us home.
Okay, so of course, let's start with the proteins. So you could do a grilled chicken. I mean, it's grilling season, right? We grilled today,
Oh, yeah.
right? So it's grilling season. You could grill some meats. You could grill salmon, any type of fish. Get a good quality fish. A cod is a good white fish. It's a good source of protein. If you want to incorporate your healthy fat, there you go with salmon because you're getting that omega-3 that's going to give you your healthy fat. Or if you're not a seafood person, then let's add some chicken, some grilled chicken, or hey, I'll take Mike's ground turkey and add that. But make sure the protein is a nice lean protein and that you're intaking at least 4 ounces. So the inside of your palm normally is about 4 ounces. That's normally about your serving size. You don't need to have like a fancy machine to weigh it. Let's use our hands, right? So inside of our palms is about the serving size of your protein on average. Okay, and then let's talk about carbs. Like Mike just said, carbs give you energy. So a lot of times when people start these low carb diets, they get brain fog. They can't think. They get lethargic. They can't think, and you know, they're like, oh, I changed my diet. That's what it is. No, it's because carbs give you energy. They fuel your body, and you need that energy. You need energy to think, right? So, and carbs also help your brain function. So that's why we need carbs. I like a good sweet potato for dinner. If you don't like sweet potatoes, then you could, and let's talk about the sweet potato real quick. You can throw that vegan butter on there, and then you could put a little bit of cinnamon on there. We don't have to, you know, slap it in a whole bunch of syrup and have candied yams like we have sometimes, but that could be a sacrifice on how we fix that sweet potato up. You can have white potatoes. A lot of people, you know, they try to restrict white foods, but you can have white potatoes and still have a successful diet.
Absolutely.
You can have rice. Just measure out your rice, about 2/3 cup of rice, depending on your day. It's the end of the day. That's a nice serving size. And then let's talk about some vegetables, some non-starchy vegetables. Sometimes I like to do collard greens, kale greens, fresh green beans. I love those. Sometimes I do like a stir fry with onions, peppers, zucchini. I can add that to my rice. I can hit it with some G Hughes sugar-free teriyaki sauce. I mean, it's
try G Hughes.
you gotta try G Hughes. It's an African American product. G Hughes. It's sold in Walmart, but they're sugar-free products without aspartame in them. So try those products, but they take your food to the next level. They keep your food tasting good without the high sodium, without all the sugar in it, and you could do any of those. When I do that specific meal with the rice, the chicken, and the stir-fried vegetables, it's just like being in a Japanese steakhouse, right? That's my own meal. Or if I do the salmon with the baked potato and the green beans, it's just like being at Texas Roadhouse. You know, create those experiences at your own dinner table and stop restricting yourself. Because oftentimes when you restrict yourself, you end up just being out of control. You end up gaining more weight than where you were when you started.
Yeah. But guys, I tell you, this has just been so awesome and so informative. Now, let me tell you, audience, these folk are entrepreneurs. This is what they do. And I want you to tell the audience today, if they want to follow up with you, the name of your business, the name of your program, and tell them how they can get up with you. So we'll start with Letitia. We'll go to the right.
Okay, you can get up with me on Facebook, Letitia J. Alford, or Instagram, Letitia J. Alford. You can also go to Back to the Basics Nutrition and Fitness website and follow us. And the name of my business is Back to the Basics. We're gonna get back to the business, but Back to the Basics Nutrition and Fitness.
All right, Miss Rudy.
All right, Willetta Alford on Facebook. So that's WILLETTA ALFORD on Facebook. I am the owner of Willpower Health and Fitness, so you can also find me on my website at willpowerhealthandfitness.com, and also on Instagram, Pretty with an I_Willie with an I on Instagram.
All right, Brother Mike.
Right, and like I said, I'm Mike Sutton. You can find me on Facebook, Mike Sutton, and Instagram is that's_Mike910, and that's all for now.
All right. Hey, listen, we certainly thank you guys for being on with us tonight, and I just thank you so much for your information, your knowledge, and allowing me to pick your brains for a little while in your area of expertise, and follow up with them on their formats. They've given them out. I hope that you will read this and again and be blessed. Now, you guys, please come back again, and you're welcome anytime to be with us here in the offering. Hey, it's been our pleasure to have you tonight, and we thank you so much for joining us. Hey, you can find me on one of 3 platforms: J. Corbett Ministries Instagram, J. Corbett Ministries Facebook, J. Corbett Ministries at YouTube, and we thank God for you joining us. Have a blessed night, and we'll see you soon. Peace.